Hello, and welcome to Story Behind the Story, where romance readers and authors connect. I'm Reese Ryan, author of sexy, emotional, romantic fiction featuring lots of family drama, surprising secrets, and a cast of complicated, sometimes messy characters. And today I'm excited because normally I sit here and I chat with another author about reader. We have a reader centered discussion, but today I am going to be chatting with other readers, particularly book club leaders. And so we're going to be talking about joining book clubs and how to find a book club that works for you, all of those things. So that's what we're going to be chatting about today. And just because I wanted to show it off, I happened to get my copy of Writer's Digest today, and I was so excited to see Miss Bev's photo right in the front page there. She's going to be the apparently she's doing the keynote. She's the keynote speaker for the annual Writers Digest annual conference. It's going to be in New York from July 28th to 31st. So if you are a reader of Writer's Digest, check it out because Miss Bev's going to be the keynote speaker. So I'm excited about that. But ready to get into this chat about book clubs. And so we're just going to, as always, it's going to be an interactive discussion. So if you have questions about, joining a book club or, how you found your book club or why you love your book club or whatever, we'd love to hear that in the comments, and we will try to address the comments as much as we can as we're talking. So I'm going to get started right away with our book club discussion. Let's see, who am I going to start with? Let's start with Cilla. Most of us know in the reader space Priscilla C. Johnson of Cilla's Book Maniacs, and it's appropriate that I started with her because you probably can't see because I ain't up tall enough. But Cilla's Book Maniacs, that's my that's the shirt that I have on right now, and I cherish the shirt. I have this one and I have the purple one from when I got a chance to go to the event. It was such a fantastic event. I had so much fun in Baltimore. So welcome to the show,
Thank you, Reese. And
Priscilla. Thank you so much for joining us. So
you are
tell us a
part of the
little bit
Maniac
about
family.
you and what genres you enjoy reading.
Well, Reese, you are part of the Maniac family. So we welcome you and we greatly appreciate you being with us. So what was your question? I'm sorry.
Uh, Tell us a little bit about you and what it is that what genres you read.
I am like everyone else here in the group and in the chat. I'm a book nerd. I read a little bit of everything. I've ventured into science fiction, sci-fi, paranormal, erotica, Christian fiction, historical fiction, women's fiction, mysteries. I read a little bit of everything.
I love that. I think a lot of us as readers, like you said, we like a little bit of everything. So that's awesome. So and I was before we were talking, and I wasn't sure if I was going to bring you all at the same time. I think I do want to do one at a time. So I'm going to go right into the next question. When did your love affair with reading begin?
I began reading, I would say at least the third or fourth grade. I am the oldest, and I have three brothers who were very into sports. And so was my mother. My mother played on a women's softball team and a bowling team, and I wasn't a sports person. So a lot of times while they were at practice or rehearsal, I was in the library. And
Mm.
I, you know, that was where I started out. And believe it or not, I was reading heavy stuff like in sixth grade, like Iceberg Slim in sixth grade and all Donald Goines in sixth grade. So I was reading a lot of that stuff. So I've always, like I said, the library has always been my second home.
Yeah, that was true of me too. Just loved the library, hung out there. Me and my friends, we went there all the time. That was our place. So, what prompted you to start or join your first book club?
Um, the love of reading. I used to work part time at a bookstore, and everybody would come in and we would sit and discuss books. So they would ask you to recommend a book because you work there. So we started a book club then, and the book club was called Sisters in Sync. And it was me and about six other women and the owners of the bookstore. And we were very successful. We got along. We still stay, even though the group has broken up, we still stay in touch and keep a list of books and everything. So it's a great time.
I love that. I love it. So then what then prompted you to start your own book club?
The book club that I am now, Cilla's Book Maniac, actually started with Beverly Jenkins. Beverly Jenkins, way back before Facebook and everything, had her Yahoo group. But as a lot of authors did, you started out on Yahoo. And she had a Yahoo group, and there were a group of us together that kind of formed our own community. When Ms. Babb decided to shut down her Yahoo group and switch to Facebook, we decided we wanted to stay together. So we created the Facebook group, Sellers Book Maniac, and I got to be part of Sellers Book Maniac because I was the person that was always spearheading ideas. Or let's do this, or let's do that, or let's get together a group to go to this conference, or let's do that. So I was always the head person. Or I would say, let's plan a luncheon for this author, and so it just became Sellers Book Maniac.
I love it. And it's a really great group of readers and authors, and very active, and just very welcoming, just a really fun, wonderful group for anybody who is not familiar with the group. So how would you suggest for a reader, is we're in the beginning of the new year, and a lot of times people have these, resolutions of things they want to do, and maybe they want to start or join a book club. What are some ways that you would recommend to readers that they could find a book club?
First, start with who you know. Who do you know reads? Who do you know likes to read, the same things that you like to read? And then you start from there. And it doesn't have to be 50 people. It doesn't have to be 100, just two or three people just to get you started. Just find something that you all have in common and just start from there.
Yes,
That's
I love that.
real simple, real basic.
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing I think with stuff like this too. Sometimes we try to go too big in the beginning, or we think if it's not huge, it's not a success. And we were kind of just talking before we went on air about it's better to have a few really good solid members who are active and get along than it is to have just a ton of people, and maybe they're not active or whatever, or they're not a good fit. So speaking of a good fit, what are some tips that you would suggest in terms of how to find a book club that is a good fit? Because every book club is not going to be a right fit for everybody. So what are some things that people should consider to find a club that is a good fit for them?
Look for what you like to read. There are groups that just do Christian fiction. There are groups that just do erotica. There are groups, just find what you want to be a part of. That's where you start, honestly. And like I said, you go from there, and then as you progress as a group, then you can venture out to read other genres. But if you have a specific thing that you like to read, I would just keep it simple, stay in that lane, and start there. And like I said, you don't have to have a whole lot of people in your group. One or two
Right.
people. I've been in groups in the past where there were just three of us, and we would meet at a coffee shop or someplace, or go out and have dinner and just talk. And that's what a lot of book clubs are. It's a sense of community. It's a sense of being a part of something. For some people that have families or small children, it's a way for them to get out, to have adult conversations that don't involve kids. So it can be a whole lot of things for a lot of different people. You just have to be persistent and find what it is you like, and grow from there.
So as a person who actually started a book club, what would you say are some of the pros and cons of being a leader of a book club?
You know what? Being a part of the Maniacs has been awesome. I mean, like I said, I come up with different ideas and they jump on it. If it's something they don't want to do, they'll say, "Well, we don't like that idea. Let's do something else." And I'm okay with that. So, and I don't consider myself as the leader of the group. I just say that I'm just the founder. We're all part of the group. This is everybody's group. I encourage everybody to be a part of it. If you want to host a book chat, you can do it. Just let me know if I have to set up the links for you to do it. No problem. I've had people set up different links, host different events. That's no problem. So it's a matter of compromise. And I don't like to be called as a leader or something like that. It's because we're all family. And after a while, you share personal things. You get to know everybody in the group. So it's not like at least I don't consider myself a, something like that or a leader. So I hate that term when they use it.
That's all
I
right.
really do.
Embrace it. It's okay. Because we
I
appreciate
know
you
that's
so
what
much.
everybody
We
says,
do.
embrace it. But I enjoy what I do. I enjoy planning different events for them. Um, the book club is virtual. As I said, we have close to 90 members that stretch from here to, I think we had the last person was in Hawaii, and I think she was in the military and was thinking about moving stateside. So we have a wide range of readers. The ages range from 25 to 75. Um, we have authors in the group who participate. I mean, they are readers too. And I think a lot of people forget that about authors is
Yes,
they are readers. That's how they became authors. They're readers.
that's right.
So I try to encourage stuff for them to do and participate in. So we do the Maniacs, we do a lot for our members. And I hope that they all are grateful of that. I try to encourage them in all kinds of ways. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yes, we appreciate it so much. So you mentioned authors, and a lot of us are members of the Book Maniacs. So, what are some mistakes that authors make when approaching book clubs, and what tips would you offer to authors who want to work closely with book clubs?
Thinking off the top of my head, I haven't had a lot of mistakes. Because we're a large group, we do have a review team. So, they contact us, they let us know, what books they do. We have a strict guideline. If you get a book, this is when you read the book, you have this amount of turnaround time. Um, we haven't had a lot of negative reactions from authors. I say we have a good rapport, even with the authors in the group. If they want to do something, if they want to host an event, we let them host the event. We can also do fundraisers. We've done fundraisers. If we have an event, I can reach out to the authors and say, hey, we're doing an event. Can you donate something that we could use as a giveaway? They've been more than willing to donate and give us things. Reese's, I can say you have given us stuff several times as giveaways that we've used. So it's a lot. I haven't had much negative impact with the authors. I really haven't. The only time is when knowing when they're in their writer's cave. Because when they're in their writer's cave, they completely shut down. And I know to back off, that they will come back in and let us know what's going on. So that's it. I haven't had any other issues or problems with anyone.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of those tips. So tell readers how they can connect. A lot of us are already in the Silas Maniacs, but tell people how they can connect with your book club. And before you even say it, let me just tell everybody that there are links. So if you missed it or whatever, or you don't catch it, there are links in the description below for all of the book clubs. But go ahead and tell us where
Yeah,
people can
and
connect
I'll
with you.
I'll go ahead and post them again in the chat for anybody that doesn't get them. But we have our main Silla's Maniac group is on Facebook, and it is a closed group. You have to be accepted in, and it's that way because we do have a dues that we pay every year that everybody submits to. And if you don't want to pay the fees and the group fees, we have another Facebook page called the Friends of Silla's Maniac. And on that site, it's composed of readers and authors also, and what we do on there is we let you know what we're doing. If we're having an event, if we know of an event, if we're going to be somewhere and you want to be there with us, we promote our authors there. We post links to book reviews that we do. We let you know what our book of the month are that we're reading. So that is also on Facebook. We also have a web page, which is www.sellersbookmaniacs.com. And it's all one word, and you can go there and all of the information is there. We post up upcoming events of other book clubs, other events, other readers, what we're doing. It gives you the history of what we're doing. So you get a lot of information from there.
Yeah. And I have to say too, like, you all before pre-COVID, there was the live event um, in Maryland, and then you all have been having virtual events, during the time of COVID. So there was one not that long ago. So there's just lots of activities and stuff with the group. So all of these groups are amazing that we're gonna be introduced to tonight. So if you are in any way looking for book club, that's the other thing for most of us as book nerds, we're usually members of more than one group like this. So and there's lots of groups out here, and so it's okay if you're a group of a member of more than one. So thank you so much for chatting with us, Cilla.
Thank
And so we're
you.
going to now move on and talk to the next person, and that is, let's see, Antoinette Gates of the Mississippi Magnolia Book Club. So, hello, and how are you doing this evening?
Good evening, Reese. How are you? Doing
I
great.
am good. What's the weather like there in Mississippi?
We were up to 64 today, so we did pretty good.
It was pretty cold here today. So you just,
Yes.
normally we have a pretty mild winter and stuff, and it was pretty good, but it's been kind of weird lately. So anyway, tell us a little bit about you and what genres you enjoy reading.
My name is Antoinette Gates. I'm the current president of the Mississippi Magnolia Book Club in Gulfport, Mississippi. I enjoy reading romantic suspense, romance, Christian fiction, women's fiction, and I've recently started some paranormal. So I'm
Nice.
branching out. I'm branching out.
Yeah, I love that. That is the wonderful thing. Is just like, there's all these different genres out there, and even ones sometimes like where when I first started reading again, I'm like, I was just reading contemporary, and I'm like, wasn't really reading historical, which was odd because the book that made me want to start becoming a writer was a historical book. So,
Yes,
but
yes,
once I started reading them, I'm just like, okay, I'm loving it. And so
yes.
then right now I'm on like a suspense
Beverly
kick. So
Jenkins was my first African American historical novel. I read her Night Song. That was my
yes.
first. Yeah.
Mm. So tell us when did your love affair with reading begin?
Elementary. I remember reading as early as first and second grade and enjoying books, even the readers and the regular readers. I enjoyed reading.
And what prompted you to either start or join your first book club?
Having a love of books and reading, and I didn't have anyone to talk to. And finally, when I went to junior college, I met a young lady, and she enjoyed reading. And our first discussions were over books, and we started reading. But then, as she finished school, she went to the military, and I was like, I've got to find a way other than meeting people in the bookstore or in the public library having a discussion about books. I was like, I've got to do something. So I started looking around and asking friends at church and different people, have you read this author or that author? And once I had a few people, then we started talking, and that was our first foray into a book club. But it wasn't structured. It was just meeting and
Yeah,
talking about books.
I
And
like that example too, because that gives
yeah,
people like you don't have to go right into, okay, how am I going to form this organization, and it could just
yes,
be very informal, like, hey, I love talking about books, or I love reading this genre, and these folks do too. Maybe we can just get together and it can build out
yes,
from there. So
yes.
very
And
nice.
I that prompted me to read. I found two books. The first one was The Ultimate Book Club by Tanisha Webb, and I read it, and that helped me get a pattern of form of how to start one. And it helped. And now in recent years, I read Planet by Sharon Lucas, who's also a book club president, and that was a help.
Those are excellent resources. So tell us again those two books.
It was The Ultimate Book Club Experience by Tanisha Webb and Planet by Sharon Lucas.
Awesome. That's Sharon Lucas. Yep. We know her. Okay, that's great. That could be very, very helpful for somebody who might feel a little bit intimidated about the prospect of starting a book club. So,
Mm-hmm.
what are some ways that you suggest that readers can find potential book clubs?
Social media, Facebook has been a big help, because once I got on Facebook, I realized there were so many more across the country, and you get to interact and meet them through their Facebook pages, and that's one definite way.
I love that. Yeah, social media helps a lot, doesn't it? And what are some factors you think that people should think about in order to find a book club that's going to be a good fit for them?
Are you comfortable, first of all, are you comfortable being in a group of women or women and men, versus, you and one other person one-on-one, because you got to be comfortable. And also making sure that the genres that they read are also those that you're interested in, because you can get in a group, and if they're interested in paranormal, erotica, sci-fi, and you're only interested in romance or romantic suspense, then you might not be a good fit for that group, and you want to be able to fit and be comfortable.
Yeah.
So your first thing is find out about them. What are their, some groups now even have questionnaires, little questionnaires to help you decide whether or not this is a good fit for you. So I like that too.
Yeah, I like that too. And some people might look at it like it's a barrier, or like, they're, who do they think they are? Who do they think they are? But I like that. Like you said,
yes,
I
because it
don't want
gives
to
you
waste
an
my
idea.
time either. Time is your most precious commodity. I realize that
Exactly.
more and more. Now that I'll be 52 soon.
Exactly.
It's our most precious commodity. So you don't want to waste your time by being in a group that's not a good fit for you. And so,
exactly.
Yeah, I like that too. Now, as a person who's a leader of a book club, what are some of the pros and cons of running a club?
The pros and cons is to make sure that everybody that says they are a reader and an avid reader really is, because it can slow the group down. Because if someone doesn't like a certain genre and that's the book of the month, then you got issues, and the attendance slack off. So I think that's one of the cons of the having the group. But also a pro is that you have people who like other genres introducing you to new genres. And when your book list comes out for the next year, you got a total mix of selections to read, and it's not all one thing. We're not all reading all romance, all romantic suspense, or all urban fiction. We're reading a variety throughout those 12 months, and that's a good thing. That's a pro.
Yeah. Just like, that's the one thing as a reader, even on social media, like I'm constantly into them buying books because somebody mentioned it on social media, or in a book group or whatever recommended it, or, in a book group, an author comes to visit or something like that, and I'm introduced to a new author. I love that. I love meeting new authors and, being introduced to new genres. I don't, like, for instance, you said you start reading some paranormal. I don't read a lot of paranormal, like just here and there, but I'm always excited when I'm introduced to a genre that I didn't think I would read or would like, and discover that I love it. So, like I said, I have read some paranormal books that I absolutely love. So it's something that I need to, venture into more or whatever. But yeah, that's always exciting for me to discover somebody new.
Yes.
Let's see. I'm trying to look at the questions here. We had lots of comments from the viewers. Like, for instance, Lisa saying the questionnaire, and Books by Patricia saying that questionnaire sounds like a good idea. And Mama Tony said her local book club uses an application to join. Definitely sounds like a good idea to me. I like that a lot. I really, really do. So this
Yes.
is like similar to like a lot of Facebook groups. They have questions before you can join the Facebook
Join.
group because they want you to know, make sure you
Yes.
understand what the group's about,
Yeah,
what the purpose of the group
exactly.
is, and that you don't fit. Okay. And Maria Alexis Banks says we have a core group of readers and we open our discussions with the authors up to the public. Got it. Okay. That makes sense too. All right. So the next question is, what are some mistakes that authors might make when approaching a book club? And what tips would you offer to authors about how to approach a book club if they're interested in connecting with them?
I've known very few to make mistakes in approaching because they are very respectful, but there is, I think, I don't know if it's the younger authors or the newer authors that inbox you, and some don't directly introduce themselves. They just go into their name and that they are an author and this is what my book, and would you and your book club read it. But I think if you would approach it with the introduction first of yourself and your genre and that you are a new author, and then pose it as a question, would you like to read my book? That would be much better.
No, I would agree with that, because when you just come at it like that, it just feels
Yes.
like this mass sales thing,
Yes.
and it's very impersonal. So
And
I
it
can
kind of
understand why
throws you
that would
off.
be problematic.
It'll throw the person off, basically. Yeah.
I agree. Because even as an author, I've had other authors do that, where they just like go into your send a sales pitch basically in your DMs. You don't have any kind of relationship with them or know them, and it's kind of it's off-putting. So that is a very good tip. Thank you for sharing that. So tell readers how they could connect with Mississippi and Magnolia Book Club.
Okay, we have a Facebook page that is private, but we do, if you send a request and you're interested, and we will let you in, because it's just basically to let you see what we're doing and what we're reading, and to help promote some authors. And we have a website, is www.mmbookclub.com, and it shows the different authors we've hosted, our book club, and things we do. And I hope you all come out and leave a message. We have a message section.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Antoinette.
Thank you.
All right. So next we are going to talk to both Miss Loretta. There she is. I'm going to give you a minute. So I'm going to go with Midnight. I'm going to bring her on first. Hey, Midnight and Miss Loretta. So you're both with the Chi-Town Reader Circle. South Park brought you both on together. So I'm going to start with you, Miss Loretta. Tell us a little bit about you and what genres you enjoy reading.
Okay. I'm a librarian with the Chicago Public Library. That's how I really got connected with the book club, Chi-Town Reading Circle. And I'll go into that in a minute. My love of reading, and I heard you ask this question earlier, so I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it started for me in high school. I discovered Harlequin, and I started reading Harlequin. Then I asked my teacher, could I write a report? And she looked at me strangely, and she said, well, what kind of book is that? I said, it's just a Harlequin love story. And she finally said yes. And ever since then, I was hooked. I was hooked until I found out even more about authors like Beverly Jenkins, Brenda Jackson, authors who look like me, skin tone like me, African-American romance authors. I'm sorry, I'm excited. What's your question?
I'm glad you're excited. We love that enthusiasm. So that's awesome. So let me ask you, Midnight, for anybody who's not familiar with you, but most of us are, because everybody's saying hello. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what genres you read.
I am Midnight Ace, and I am Midnight Ace of the Book Bar. I'm kind of an eclectic reader. So I read a little bit of everything. And I think I'm stuck, kind of like not stuck, but I'm planted really in the romance world now. So all the varieties of the romance. But every now and then, those romance writers, they kind of take you on an adventure. So you could step out on paranormal, Christian fiction and everything. So I think romance has become my base, but it takes me everywhere, so I read a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I love that about romance. I just want some love story.
Right.
And you can take me just about anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I love that. So tell us a little bit about how your love affair with reading began.
Oh my goodness. I have been reading ever since I can remember. And I was hearing some of the answers that everybody was saying. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I can't pinpoint. I think I have always had a book in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't a book, it was one of those, and I'm probably dating myself, but remember the highlights magazines?
Yes.
So I've always been reading something, always. So I've been reading ever since I could remember.
Yeah. I know for me, I fell in love with books like very, very young. I started reading at a very, very young age. Just fell in love with this whole concept of stories and storytelling. So yes, I had the highlights for sure.
But you know what? You know what's funny about that is that I hated romance. I hated romance. My sister read romance. I hated it. I was like, ugh, yeah. But now the flip had the strip had the strip has flipped. I don't know. I'm all tongue tied here, but yeah. So it's changed a lot since then. Now I'm planted here.
That has happened for a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
So tell us, this is a question for both of you. What prompted you to either start or join your current book club?
Okay.
You.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Okay. What prompted me is my sister, Rhea Alexis, about 2015, latter 2015. I discovered that she knew a lot of authors. And when I first heard that she knew a lot of authors, I didn't believe it, because I'm like, oh, she don't know Beverly Jenkins. She don't know Brenda Jackson. That can't be true. And when I found out it was true, I was stunned. And I was like, oh my God, she really know. So I said, I'm going to saddle up to my sister and find out what this is really all about. And that's when I learned that she was is the founder and a chairperson of Chi-Town Reading Circle. And at one point, the reading club went through a transition where people moved out of the state, out of the city, and it needed to gain some momentum. So I just figured, well, let's see if we can get this into the library where I work. It would help me for programming, and I'm being very transparent, but it would also allow us to read and discuss books on the library time. And I'm like, for me, that was a win-win situation. So why not? And I'm gonna say this, and then I'll quiet down, but the first time Beverly Jenkins came to Chicago for a Chicago Public Library event, I was so nervous. And I remember I was driving and she was in the car and she was sitting in the front on the passenger side and Rhea was in the back. And I pulled over and I said, now hold on here. I said, now, Miss Jenkins, you got to realize I'm nervous. I said, because wow, you're like a idol to me. And you're sitting right there in the passenger seat. And she looked at me and she said, oh, bless your heart, it's going to be okay. And that was just, I don't know, that was just one of my most favorite moments in life. And so after then, I was just hooked because I've met numerous authors now and they're just so nice. It's just a community. It's a real community to me. And it's just a community of love. And so I'm hooked for life now.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And Midnight, what prompted you to join a book club?
Okay, I've been members of several book clubs, and they have kind of disbanded along the way. And so I remember Beverly Jenkins challenged us. This was several years ago. I used to be a part of her Yahoo group as well. And several years ago, she challenged her readers, followers, to go out and find physical book clubs in our area. And at the time, I had just met Rhea online. I didn't know of her, just online. And I reached out to her, and then she did tell me that the book club was going through a transition at the time. So I just stopped at that point. But I was following some authors in Chicago, like Sherelle Green and all of those, and they had an event at the library. And after that event at the library, Loretta approached me and said, "Hey, would you like, we're bringing back the Chicago Reading, Chi-Town Reading Circle. Would you like to be a part of it?" And obviously, yes, it's in Chicago. Why wouldn't I? But what I do like about this particular book club is that, one, it is part of the library and it is open. So it's easy access for us because we host everything we host. It's open to the public, and sometimes people think libraries are a dying breed, but no, they're not. And we're a testament to that, because when we were able to, we do go into the physical library, and we do check out books. So when we have our book clubs, whatever the book is of the month, Loretta tries to get them in the library. We go in and check them out. So we're supporting our authors, and we are also bringing in, new readers because they kind of follow us, right? But for me, a book club is not just for the reading, my love of reading, because that goes without saying. But for me, it's the fellowship. It's the fellowship and being able to take a book and discuss it with like-minded people, but also from different perspectives. You know what I mean? That to me makes that book grow bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You take a story that, say, you wrote, then here I go and say something about a character, Loretta say something about a character, and we got a whole thing going on, right? But yeah, so for me, it's not just the love of reading, it's the fellowship that you can have with the people in the group.
Yeah, that is the thing, is that you're building this whole community around your love of books, and it's just such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I love being a part of the reader community and just the different book clubs and stuff. So that's awesome. So what are some of the ways that you two would suggest that readers can find book clubs?
I would say for me, it's been, word of mouth or online. When social media is one way of finding book clubs, they certainly have been, a way to get to enhance, and find different people. But you do have to be careful. I would say for me as a reader, you do have to be careful about joining so many groups because you stick with a few that works with it, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to get bogged down, and then it no longer becomes a pleasure. It becomes like, too demanding. So I would say start online, but I love my physical book club. So if you can find something online, but then you can take it physical, that would be great.
Yeah. And it's funny you said that, because I was thinking that earlier about when, I think it was when Antoinette was talking about making sure you find a place that you're comfortable and like the reading stuff that you like, because that's what I was thinking. You don't want it to turn into feeling like a chore, or I have to read this book for book club. You want it to be something that you're going to enjoy. It's one thing to venture out into new territory and find things that you love, but if it's consistently becoming work for you, and what you just mentioned too, being in too many groups can also cause that problem. So that makes a lot of sense. Ms. Loretta, did you have a suggestion for finding book clubs?
I'm going to suggest, similar to what Midnight indicated, word of mouth, other members in book clubs sharing the message about their book club. And also, I'm going to suggest peruse libraries' websites, because a lot of times you can connect with an event at libraries' website. Notice I didn't just say mine, library websites, and connect to book clubs that way. definitely. But word of mouth is the key, because I can cite 5 to 6 of our members just by word of mouth that joined our book club, and that's for sure. And 4 of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 of the ladies are in St. Louis, and it was strictly word of mouth. And I will say this: the author selection too, I think is, and the books, of course, written by those authors is key, because it seems like to me, specifically Love Bevelin, and I'm going to cite her. I know the ladies in St. Louis definitely, when they found out about her, they were like, oh yeah. Then when they found out we were discussing her books, then it segued to other books. And I have to give Midnight the credit for that, because I didn't know about Love Bevelin until Midnight introduced Love Bevelin, Tiana Levine in particular. And I realized that just the area of romance, that's not the only area I'm interested in now. My palette is being horizon and broadened, and I like women fiction and paranormal, etc. So it yeah.
And we just had a good question that I think I'm gonna save toward the end, so I can ask. I'll bring you all back and ask you all at the same time that question, because it's a really good. It is a really good question from Shay Baby, and about how you all pick your books. So I'm gonna come back to that later. So the question I would ask now is, what are some of the factors that would make a book club a good fit for a person that they should be looking for?
Well, I'll say for
I'll start
me,
with you,
I'll
Midnight.
just take,
Yeah.
I'll say for me to stay connected to the book club, and this is no secret because I talk to Loretta about this all the time. It's keeping the reader or the member engaged and having some kind of consistency, for one. And then also having meet times that is convenient for most people. Of course, you're not going to be able to satisfy everybody, but just some dates and times, places where you can meet and engage with each other that is convenient for most of everyone, I would think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Miss Loretta, what are some things you think a person should consider to, make sure they want to be in a club that's a good fit for them?
The books that are selected, they have to be interested in that genre, in that area. I think that's key. Being willing and receptive to speaking out and talking sometimes.
Yes.
When you meet, sometimes it's like pulling teeth, and actually not just attending but
Participating. I think she might have froze, but but not just attending, but participating.
I thought she was in deep thought.
I think I froze, but actually participating in the discussion, sometimes, not all the time, because some people just don't want to speak out, but speaking out a little bit more, and not just attending, but actually participating and recommending some books. Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna say that goes into, well, let me say this first. Like you said about the participation, and that's whether you're in person or online.
Yeah.
When it comes to groups like this, you get out of it what you put into it. So if you just kind of sit there, we've all been a part of a group where you kind of ease your way in, maybe, and you just kind of lurk for a while to kind of get a feel for the group. That's completely understandable. But I've seen people be like, oh, I didn't get anything from this group. Well, you didn't give anything to the group either. So, be a part of the group. If you're going to be a part of the group, be a part of the group, be active. Take some risk and go out there. So, and it's always worth it. Let me put it this way. So it can be scary, especially with a new group of people you might not be familiar with, but the rewards are definitely worth it. So one of the things you just mentioned, Miss Loretta, was recommending books. And one of the question that Shay Baby asked earlier was, how do you select the books you present to the book club? So I'll go ahead and ask you to that now. What are some of the ways that you come up with the books that you discuss? Because you discuss what, one book a month, so that's 12 books a year.
Pretty much. Folks, primarily, I think of our book club as a whole, romance as the main genre, and there are other genres within romance. We will read outside the romance genre. I personally like to have the at least the author selected and the book, if possible, almost a year ahead. I do. Some people say that's too early. I don't think it is. And as the year goes on, I'll maybe a month or two, not even a month, that's not true, 2-3 months before the author is actually due to meet and chat with us and discuss one of their books, I would reach out to the author and see if they're still available. But for me, like, for example, except for the month of October, we have authors for all of this year, except for October. And that was pretty much done last year, almost a year prior, because I like to kind of know, I like to know what direction we're going with. Now, I always want suggestions from the readers. And if they don't suggest anything, honestly, I'll select an author. I try to use ones we've used before. Not, a few months before, maybe a year before or 2 years before, but I'll make the selection if I don't, hear from them. I ask for suggestions and take it from there.
I love that. And Alexa says, our recommendations of authors come from our members, and we determine the books from their catalog.
Sure.
I like that. So that's a question we'll try to get the other folks to answer to, Cilla and Antoinette, who've already spoken. So we'll ask them that a little bit later after I talk to Shavonna, because that is the excellent question to see how the different groups go about, and when they do it as well. Because, for instance, if authors are trying to reach out to somebody, let's say you're trying to get somebody to read a book, and your book just came out this month, you're trying to reach out to them now, or your book's coming out next month, and you're trying to reach out to them now, that's probably not going to happen. So that makes a lot of sense to know, when book clubs develop their reading list, how far in advance and how they come up with suggestions. And it makes sense that you want the readers to suggest things that they want to read, because then that's going to prompt them to be more engaged and to participate in it more as well. So love that. Okay, so did I ask y'all already about what mistakes authors make? I don't think we talked about that, did we?
Mm-mm.
Okay, perfect. So, and I didn't ask you about the pros and cons yet either. We've just been having this good discussion. I'm getting lost.
That's easy to do.
Some of the pros and cons of running or being a part of a book club. Midnight, I'm gonna start with you.
I would just say, and Loretta can correct me on this, because I kind of am twofold here. So I am a member of a book club, but then I also have the book bar where I also support authors, and I'm always on the lookout for new authors. And then once I, get a hold of them, I recommend them to the book club. But I think, and like I said, Loretta can correct me if it's wrong, but I think engaging, keeping your readers or your members engaged and, picking books that appeal to them is probably one of the biggest struggles I think that you would have. And also to just having a place where, you can meet, a common ground where everybody can meet at, I would think would be some of the struggles. But again, the pros is always the ability to be able to sit down, fellowship with your members, and talk about a good book. It'd be nice to have some wine too. Let me just throw that out there too. But yeah,
For sure.
but you can't always have that.
into that because I was going to bring it up at some point. Since you have the book bar, tell us a little bit about the book bar and what you do there.
Okay. Well, the big bar or the book bar is just really just a person who has made reading her lifestyle. All right. And when in this world it's a lot of people out here doing, the same thing because we all read. And there's a lot of books to be read. But I love wine too. And so I had to find a way to bring them both together. So I do reading of arcs, reviewing, and my niche is really just pairing a good book with a good wine and maybe sometimes a good cigar. I just think they go together.
I love that you do the reviews and that you have the wine suggestions and stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
thank you.
Okay, so Miss Loretta, what pros and cons would you say that there are to, especially kind of running a book club?
The cons.
And the reason why I'm like wanting to know, like straight up, honestly, like what are some of the cons? Because a person might be excited about starting a book club and like, hey, I'm going to do this, but there are some other things to think about, like in terms of the responsibility side. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I want to be honest about like what are some of the cons or what are some of the things that maybe are not so fun or about running a book club.
Well, I agree with Midnight. I concur with her 100%. The recommendations, more recommendations can certainly be used, and they are welcome. They are welcome. A con for me, and it does involve my job, but I have to say it. It's a con. Oh, well, if a particular independent author book is not in the Chicago Public Library system, I can't have them using the library platform, which is a bummer. I've stated this in a meeting with some of the top people downtown, and that's a con because now I can't have this author. For example, Keith Kareem Williams. We're meeting with him outside of CPL because he does not have a book in the Chicago Public Library, which I tried to get his books in the Chicago Public Library, and I got spanked on the hand. So it's my job, and I'm gonna watch what I say because he's an independent author. And so for me, that's a bummer. That's a straight up con. I mean, I can't get around that. That's a con. And so, like I said, it's my job. It's the entity that I work for, but still, that's a con. Pros, the work of it is a joy for me because when it all comes to fruition, we're there actually meeting and discussing and enjoying and spending time with the readers and the authors, be it in person or online. So that's a definite pro for me. It does take work, and it takes a lot of work. And I think even if I didn't do this for my job at the library, I would do it outside the library because I love it. I just love bringing people together to discuss books. So it's so many pros to it, that just the whole process of seeing it come to fruition and standing back and smiling and having fun because the author is here, actually online or in person. I just think that's wondrous.
Yeah. I love it. And I love your enthusiasm for the whole process. That's key. So now for authors who might be watching, who want to work with book clubs, what are some of the mistakes that authors might make when approaching a book club, and what are some tips that you would offer for the right way to approach you as a book club, or you, Midnight, as a person who does these book discussions with authors on her show?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of problems with that, but I will piggyback off of what Antoinette had said earlier. It is a proper way to approach the reader that you want to either review your book or either just submit your book to the book club, because we all get, as members of a book club, we can get get approached by an author outside of the book club, and then we can recommend. But definitely there's a way about introducing yourself and say, hey, I have this book. Would you mind? I would love for you to read this with your book club, or I would love for you to review my book. But I don't have a lot of issues with that. I take them in, but for me personally, for the book bar, when I take in a review, I would like for someone to send me an email, contact me through email, tell me a little bit about your book and give me a link to where I can find it. And also give me a synopsis so I know what I'm doing, because I don't want to take in a project that I know I'm not going to, be able to finish. So
Right.
For me, but I haven't had any problems just redirecting people the right way to contact me sometimes. And that's just maybe just because they don't know.
Okay, awesome. So then making that proper introduction for you, that's via email, would be the right way to go. So
Exactly.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Ms. Loretta, are there any tips that you would offer to authors who might want to connect with book clubs?
Well, here's my tip. Just reach out to me. I am open and get ready. I'm open and receptive. Just reach out. Facebook message me privately and let's talk about it. I find myself doing that most of the time, reaching out to them, introducing myself and saying, hey, I'm a librarian for the Chicago Public Library. Would you like to meet with our group? And here's what's awesome for me. Most of the time they say yes. And every now and then I get a no reply or nothing. And I'm okay with that because most of them say yes. So just reach out. You can introduce yourself. I'm okay with that. We'll get all that straightened out a little bit later. So I don't have anything really negative or out of sorts to say, because I just love Arthur. So come on.
So you heard that. If you're an author, reach out to Miss Loretta for the Chi-Town Reading Circle. She is looking for people. She's looking for authors to connect. So, all right. So speaking of connecting, we'll start with you, Midnight. Tell us how people can connect with you on the book bar, and then we'll ask Miss Loretta how to connect with Chi-Town Reading Circle.
Okay, so for me at the book bar, reach out. My website is www.midnightacebookbar, all one word.com. And on there, if you need a review or you want me to check out your book, there is down at the bottom, there's a contact there. And that goes directly to my email and it'll come to me. And, we can go from there. And I can also be found on most social media platforms too, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yes. And let me just ask you also, so you do the chats with authors and stuff, is that like a set schedule, or is just whenever you feel like it, or and can they also access that from, is it just from your Facebook page or also from the website?
Yes, they can. If you're interested in me doing a chat with me, they can definitely put that in that comment section down in there to reach out to me that way. And I would do them on Fridays because my segment is called Books and Booze. So, I don't be drinking all during the day, but so I like to have it like on Friday nights, because I think most other people have other shows. So we try to, kind of spread it out for people, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on Friday. And also, too, I do reach out to authors too for interviews, but I'm a one-man show when it comes to the book bar. So I have to make sure I get my plans. And if you guys ever seen my graphics, y'all know I put my heart and my soul in the graphics. So I don't just throw anything out there. So everything is like, I have to take time for me to cultivate. And
you've been getting super fancy lately with the little cartoons and stuff. I'm like, okay.
I'll be trying, you know what I mean? But that's coming from my heart. When I read a book, it transforms into that graphic. So it's just not, I don't just throw anything out there. So yes, give me time. I'm coming for you. All of y'all. I'd like to have all y'all on the show.
I love it. And Miss Loretta, how can people connect with Chi-Town Reading Circle?
They can connect with Chi-Town Reading Circle. There is a Facebook page. It has over 5,000 likes on Facebook. It is a public page. And you can reach out to Ria Alexis on Facebook or Ria Alexis on her own page. You can reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. Whenever you see the bird of paradise symbol, I'm on there. And also I'm on Twitter. What's that other one? Instagram and all those good things. And my handle is MB of Paradise. So you can reach out to me and we would love to have you. Yes.
Love it. Well, thank you both for joining us this evening. So I'm
Thank
going to pop
having
off and
us.
say good evening to you for right now. And then we're going to speak to our last person who's going to be chatting with us this evening. And that is Miss Shavonna Futrell. Hello, hon. How are you? How is it going this evening? I can't hear you.
I'm on mute.
There you go.
It's
I was
going
like, okay,
good.
now I'm like, okay, is it me?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, and tell us a little bit about you and what genres you read.
Okay, so as you said, I'm Shavonna Futrell. Some people also know me as Shay Books. I'm a reviewer, avid reader. I'm in 3 book clubs. So I kind of read everything, a little bit of everything. I haven't really dipped into historical fiction, but I do have that as a must read this year to start out because I want to, I love the covers. I love what everybody's saying, so I want to try to get into it.
Nice. And so tell us a little bit about when your love affair with reading began.
Oh my gosh. Ever since I was little, I don't know what grade, but I used to line up all my doll babies and all my teddy bears and read to them. I wanted to be a reading teacher. So, yeah, when I was very little, I also got in trouble for reading and anything and everything. My mom would be like, take this to somebody and you better not read it. I'd read it.
I think most of us, a lot of us started reading really early.
Yes.
So what prompted you to join your first book club?
So I did try to start my own book club, but it was, I'm not going to say an epic fail. They wanted to more socialize than read. So, and I wanted to, because I love to read and I wanted to discuss the books that I read with other people. So that's what made me start looking for a book club. Um, Social media was a big part of that. I did try libraries. I just couldn't find anybody that connected with what I was reading. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point too, because, and that can happen with any type of group, but yeah, like you were saying, you started it with this thought, okay, it's a book club. Everybody's like, hey, we just want to socialize. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So okay. And that can happen. So how did you eventually find the Victorious Ladies Reading Book Club?
Oh, that's a funny story. So, I went to see, like the first author that I ever saw in person. No, I'm not gonna say that. It's not. But I went to see Carl Weber, and this group was there, and they had on there all these matching pink shirts, and they were there, and I know her now as Michelle, but I didn't know her then. She like thrust her um iPad and said, "Could you take a picture of us?" I was like, "She don't even know me." She just gave me her iPad, to take a picture of them with Carl Weber, and so I inquired about their book club, and that's how I joined. They
Wow.
welcomed me in, and I've been there,
That
what,
I can
7
totally
years
see
now?
that.
Yeah.
I can totally see that. That's awesome. So so you told us a little bit about how you found your book club. So what are some of the suggestions you would have to people as to how they could find a book club?
Like the other lady said that came before me, check libraries, social media, word of mouth. It's just Facebook was really it. I think Lashira had, like, I went to a book event and Lashira had I think she kind of, because she had a book club and I wanted to join hers, but they weren't taking new members. So I think she suggested BLR, and then I actually met them. So yeah, but that's what I would just say, you have to talk to people because you never know who does what. Like I noticed people in the hairdresser read. I was like, oh, you read. I read too. What do you read? Are you a part of a book club? I did all of that to try to kind of find people to read and discuss books with.
That's kind of funny that Lashera recommended VLR to you, and then you met Michelle and
Yeah.
Michelle Chavez, the president of the book club.
Yes.
That way, because so it's like you were just meant to be part of the group. And it's just
I
like
think
whenever
I
I've
was.
met with y'all, it's just y'all
Right.
y'all just fit.
Yeah, we do.
So speaking of that, what are some of the things that, you know, in terms of finding a book club that is a good fit for you? So you were in a book club before that you started, and it wasn't a good fit because people only want to socialize. So what are some of the things you would say a person needs to look at in terms of having a good fit for the club they're in?
So I suggest, okay, as a book club, we do have an application. So you do have to fill out an application and see if you want to commit to what that book club, those expectations of that book club. And also you want to make sure that, as the other one said, they read what you want to read. You know, you like those genres, because that could, you know, even though Victoria's Ladies Reading Book Club is a Christian fiction book club, I do read other stuff, but I don't try to embark my stuff in on them. I just read outside of that, of what we read. But you want to make sure that you are a good fit, because sometimes it just don't work out. And I also suggest, we don't do this, but it is a suggestion that you do a trial run. You know, say, can I sit in on some of your meetings or see some of the books y'all are reading to see if I want to be a part of that book club, and then go from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And several of the ladies have mentioned that they, you know, have a listing of books that they've read in the past and events and stuff they have in the past, and that's a good way for people to kind of look and see, you know, and everybody saying hello to you. That's a good kind of a good way to kind of look and see if, you know, what people have the group has been reading in the past is something that's a good fit for you. And Lucille James said I used to get in trouble for reading too. So, yeah, so it definitely makes sense if, as a book club, you know, that's another great reason to kind of list the books that you've covered, because it gives people a feel of what you're about and, you know, what kind of books you read and stuff, so they won't be coming in and being disappointed because you're not reading what it is that they want to read. So it gives them a good fit, understanding of what the group's about. So you are one of, like, you do have like a leadership role, right, in the Victoria's Lady area. So what are some of the pros and cons of being in a leadership role in a book club?
Okay. So yes, I'm vice president of, you know, ours. We also have a VLR online, and I'm vice president in that one also. So communication is a big thing. Communicate if you're not going to be in the meetings, because we have reached out, you know, and, you know, asked authors to join us, and then it's only two of us sitting in there. Not that that's an issue, but, you know, just communication is a big thing. That's the only con. Pros is pros. I'm not gonna say we don't have any pros, but we don't have a lot of cons either. So I don't know, Reese. And let me see, did I write that one down?
Because I've met with y'all at least twice, twice, right?
Yeah.
So for me, the pros being in y'all's group was definitely y'all always go to the best food places. Well, we had a book discussion. So it's number one, you know, the books and the fellowship of the group or whatever. And I'm gonna tell y'all, that place y'all took me that one time where it was like the fried lobster. I don't even like seafood like that. I'm like,
Sure enough, seafood. I think now the name of
oh my God, that place is so good. Hole in the wall, but it was so good.
Yeah. We try to treat our authors very good. Very good.
Y'all do. Y'all really, 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 really do. So, and it was just such a great experience, and it was just so fun. Like I'm still like dying thinking about Michelle, how she was like preparing for eating that
her
seafood
gloves,
meal with her gloves and just
Yeah,
But
she's
it was
already
fun.
ready.
It was a
Yeah.
super fun discussion and just great people. So I love that. So what are some of the mistakes that you would say authors make in terms of, who are reaching out wanting you guys to read their books maybe? What were some tips that you would offer in terms of how to do that in a way that works for the group?
Okay. So we haven't had a lot of authors, that make mistakes. Like one or two, maybe they have, just popped in the inbox. I would like for you to read our book, and they're erotica. Okay, so I mean, Victorious Ladies Reading. So our name kind of tells you, but maybe not. But kind of do research before you interact with a book club to kind of see what genres, or ask them what genres. I mean, we don't read all Christian fiction, but we draw the line with erotica and cussing and heavy erotica, because you're not Christian fiction. Like, we've had you twice.
Yes, and y'all have had me there twice.
So I mean, so we're not just straight, Christian fiction. We do women's fiction, but we're a little on the subtle side. So kind of do your homework before you just pop it in our box and say. But just like Cilla, then we do have a review team. So we will review other stuff outside what ladies are comfortable are reading that stuff. But just, do your research.
Yeah, that's an excellent tip, to do your research and know about the groups. Like you said, next, for instance, if that's an excellent example, it's a Christian fiction
Yeah.
group, you probably don't want to propose that they read your erotica book, or
Right.
vice versa. If
Right.
it's a group that reads on the spicier side, then they're probably not going to want to read inspirational. So
Correct.
that is an excellent tip to do the research. So, I like what Mama Tony said. She says, when we're taking in new members, we ask that you come as a guest 3 times. We call this our courting period. That's a really great idea, Mama Tony.
It is.
We were talking about that, about like, letting people come to visit so that they can see if they're a good fit, because you're not trying to, you want everybody to be happy. So that's a really great idea that you make that a requirement, even that they do that. I like that a lot. Michelle!
I wonder what she's laughing about.
Probably that lobster story, because I'm like, I'm still dying about like she is committed. So,
she
if you ever meet her in person, you got to ask her about her routine to eat her seafood meal. So
yes. I even carry gloves in my car for her, just in case she forgets to bring hers.
She is prepared. Yes.
Yes.
And Miss Loretta says that they review team is a great idea. The other thing too, and I think somebody else might have touched on this, and I'm pretty sure I saw that you all had that. Like, Michelle she don't play.
No, she don't.
She has her rules or whatever. So like, there's a requirements like with the reviewing. If you're going to take a book and say you're going to review it, you need to turn it around in an efficient amount of time as a part of that group. So having those parameters set in place so people know what the expectations are before they take a book to review or whatever. That's a really great idea. I love that she has that. So
yeah, that's a requirement of our book club, not the review team, but our book club. You have to review every book, and that review has to be done before that discussion. You're not going to come in that discussion and get some tips and then go write your review. So that is a requirement for our book club.
Yes. And
look, she put, or you will be fine. And she's serious about them fines.
Yes. So like I said, she don't play.
Right.
But it's good that the parameters are set forth in the beginning, and so you know exactly what the expectations are and stuff. So that's good. So tell people how they can connect with Victorious Ladies Reading.
Okay, so like I mentioned, we have an online book club, and then we have the in-person. So if you would like to join the online, you can go to VLR Book Club. You can email us at vlrbookclub@gmail.com, and we'll send an application. And, you can see if you want to do that. If you would like to submit an application for the in-person in the RDU area, that's where we are, then VLR www.vlr book club. Look, I don't know our website. We have a
It is.
website.
I'll put it in
And
the
it's
description. So I got it in the
okay.
description. It's
Yeah, so I think it's
VLRbookclub.com, I believe.
.com. Yeah, I'd be
Yes.
getting the two mixed up. So,
And so one
those
question I
straight.
want to ask you, because I think I didn't ask, that was an audience question from Shay, was about how you all select the books that you read during the course of the year.
Okay. So our year starts in October because our anniversary is October. So that's when our year starts. So in about September, I will post in the group for everybody to at least drop 5 suggestions of authors that they want to do for the following year. And once they do that, then we'll go back and select the books from those authors. Or like I'll reach out and say, do you have anything coming out this year? We want to host you. But we do ours in advance so that we can get the authors on our calendar, because y'all do get busy. Y'all do have other stuff planned and other stuff coming up. So we want to try to get in there, ahead of time. And then if stuff changed, then we can just, pivot and change what needs to be changed. But that is how we do ours. So by October 1st, November 1st, we have our whole lineup for the year.
Wow.
The following year. Yeah.
And so and that's something that folks should know. So if you all are planning like October, November, you're planning your entire lineup for the following year. So that's something
Correct.
people should know.
Yeah.
It's another reason to be prepared and ahead of the game in terms of approaching book club. So thank you, Shavonna, and thank you, Michelle.
Thank you for having me.
For answering questions for us and giving us all that information. I'm gonna pop you off, Shavonna. So thanks again for joining us. And then I'm gonna ask questions, Cilla and Antoinette, the question about how they pick the books. So thank you so much. So that's Antoinette and Cilla. So that's a question that Shay asked that I did not get a chance to ask either of you, and that is how you select the books for your book club.
Okay.
So I'll start with you.
Okay, well, basically because we are such a large group, we sometimes have several books going at one time. But recently what we've been doing is posting a poll in our website, on our Facebook group, for readers to post what books you want to read for the month. And then we'll post it that way. And I post it in the friends group so everybody knows what we're doing. So that's something new that we're doing. But like I said, because we have so many members, it's hard to just say we're going to read one book, because there's always several books going on at one time. Somebody might start a conversation about a book, and it just goes from there. So we do it a lot of different ways.
I like that. Okay. And it definitely, the way it works for a smaller group and a larger group, I can certainly understand why those would be different. So that makes sense. Antoinette, how about you? How does Magnolia, how do the Mississippi Magnolias decide?
We're on the same line with Shavonna and the Virtuous Ladies. We start in July, pumping each other up about, okay, have you started looking for your 5 choices? And by October, they have to have, by September, actually, we want them to have their 5 choices, because we want to put the list out to narrow it down to the top 12. And if we can't narrow it down, most times there's some runoffs. So we take October to do that. And by November, our anniversary in November, we have our 12 for the next year.
Wow. Like I said, I realized that, there was you did it in advance. I didn't realize how far in advance you all planned. That is great. I mean, and it's great for readers to be able to start stocking up the books, grabbing the books, and making time for it and stuff. So that's good to know. So thank you for answering those questions for us and for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Really enjoyed it.
A lot of fun.
I'm so glad you did.
Yes.
It's been a great discussion. So I'm not even going to pop y'all off. I'm just going to leave y'all here and y'all can say goodnight with me to everybody. So thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening and for all of your great comments and questions and what have you. If you want to connect with any of these amazing ladies and their book groups, you will find that information in the description of the chat below. So do that. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like button, let the ladies know how much you appreciated it. If you have further questions for them, just pop those in the comments on the YouTube page, and they'll probably be kind enough to answer those questions for you at a later time. But thank you all for joining us this evening. As for my next show, who knows when it's going to be? It'll be sometime in February. I'll let y'all know when I know. I'm on a wild ride trying to get a book finished, the first book in the next series. So I will be talking to y'all all later, but thank you all this evening for joining me. It was a great discussion, and I learned a lot about book clubs. So thank you for taking the time to join us tonight.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.